Hi, everybody, and welcome to our masterclass today, which is about how to prepare your guests for your event before your event happens. And as a little bonus, we're going to talk about how to keep preparing your guests once they're actually inside the event. So my name is Katrina. I am the trainer and the Event Enhancement Specialist here at Remo. And I am very, very happy to see you guys all here. So if you can please do me a favor, if I'm coming across okay, can you guys just please start putting into the chat like a hello and where you're from, so that way I know across okay and that you guys can all hear me. Hi from Wisconsin. Awesome. Thank you. Hi from Texas. So we have some folks from Calgary, from Alberta, Canada, Venice, California, from India. Hey, Raghu, how are you? From Washington, some more from Canada, Calgary, Philly, from Vancouver, Canada. Awesome. From Memphis. Welcome, everybody. I am so happy that you joined me here. Just to get started, I want to let you know that we do have quite a few participants here inside the event itself. So if you have questions, if you could please put them into the Q&A for me, that's going to allow me to help keep them a little bit more organized. And if you see the question that you would like to ask and it's already been asked, go ahead and click the upvote button on it, and that way it will rise to the top. Because what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be jumping through a series of just different tabs, and I'm going to have a few different things open. And with that being said, I am going to maybe miss something that's coming through into the chat. And so I'm trying to see who I see here. So I am going to, Raghu, I'm going to give you some permissions, and Des, I'm going to give you permissions, and I'm going to give you these permissions to help me out. So that way, if I am bounced into another tab and I'm demonstrating and you guys can't see what I'm demonstrating, Des is part of the team, and Raghu, they're part of the team. If you guys could just come up here and just let me know, hey, we can't see what you're demonstrating, that'll be a huge help for me. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. And then if this is your first time in an event with me, can you do me a favor? Because I want to teach you guys how to do this too. Right down below, somewhere along in here for you guys, is going to be a raise hands. So if this is one of the first classes that you've been in with me, if you could raise your hand. Perfect. Hi, Bridget. Welcome. Tara, Julia, Lisa, Lori, Priha. Welcome, everybody. It's nice to see you. I do reference other classes that I do. I lead Success Labs 2 times a week on Mondays and Wednesdays. I teach Quick Start Workshop for folks who are brand new to Remo, who are just getting to their first couple events. I teach those every Tuesday. And then every month we have a couple master classes and events that we do for the community. So Rebecca, Melissa, awesome. Thank you guys. And thank you so much for coming to the class today. If you have questions, you are going to be welcome to come up here on stage to ask them. So you can ask in the Q&A. If I don't understand something, I may say, hey, can you come up here and clarify that for me? And then I'll bring you up on stage. I will give you permissions, just like you saw earlier. We had one of my colleagues up here. You'll get a message that says turn on your microphone and camera. And if that happens, then you can come up here on stage and join me. So before we go too far, does anybody have questions in the beginning about anything that you're seeing, or about how I'm going to facilitate the masterclass today? If not, I'm going to jump in. So I will be putting some links for you inside the chat feature. And so that way you guys will be able to also kind of have for reference some of the things that I'm showing you today. So to begin, I can't prepare an event and I can't prepare my guests until I go through some of my basic questions that I have to ask either myself or that I have to ask my client that I'm working with about information about the event. So the 2 most important questions that I ask when it comes to planning my event and understanding what I'm going to need to do to prepare my guests for the event are: 1, and if you guys want to type this into the chat just so it kind of like sticks in your memory, or if you want to take notes on this, number 1 is the purpose. So what is the purpose of the event? And by that I mean, what do I want my guests to come away from this event experiencing? So that's number one. The first question is purpose. What do I want my guests to get from the event? And if you want to type that in the chat just to kind of like flow it through your memory, there are studies that say like if you write something down or if you type it down, it just does stick a little bit more. The second question that I ask are the demographics. What are the demographics of my guests? In the demographics, I'm going to ask certain things like, what is their profession? If this is for a professional organization, who are the majority of the people that are going to be coming in? What generation are they most likely to be in? How tech savvy are they? So how recent are their computers? Are they in a profession like lawyers and doctors, or if it's a university where they're likely to be on a work machine that has a high firewall or VPN? So meaning that there's a lot of restrictions that their companies would put on, banks are another one that their restrictions would put on. If they are in a generation that didn't grow up necessarily in the digital age. So I may have some different things that I need to do if the majority of my attendees are older, as opposed to if they're all in college or if they are like late high school. So these are the decision points that I have to make before I plan my event, because the more that I plan my event and the more things that I add on to my event, the more complex that I make my event. And the more complex I make my event, the more information I have to relay to my guests about what they'll need to do. Another demographic information is how familiar are they with virtual events? What is their frame of reference? Is it mainly Zoom? Is it mainly Teams and Zoom, where it's a much more passive experience? Or have you done something in a virtual event space that is a little bit more interactive, where they're going to understand a little bit easier about how to jump around and how to make inferences? So those are the first things that go into deciding what you need to do to prepare your guests and how to prepare them for the event. The next thing I'm going to talk about are products that you can use to be able to relay that information out, because there's a few different ways that you can use the information, and it's going to depend a lot on how you're going to get your registrations in. So if you're using a third-party registration platform like Eventbrite, Eventbrite is going to build in some of the capabilities for you where you can get some of those demographic information pieces that if you don't already have them. Eventbrite is going to be able to allow you to customize and send out emails, but not necessarily attach things to those emails. So you'll have to know if you need to have links versus if you can do PDF attachments. If you are making the relay through your actual website, through a registration portal on your landing page, those are a couple of other things that you're going to think about whenever it comes to how you're going to get the information out to your guests. But some of the tools that you can use are, number one, one-pagers. So one-pagers that'll go out in your emails, one-pagers that can be something PDF where they can download it, a one-pager that is embedded into your website, a one-pager that if you have it on a link, that you can cut and paste that link and put that link into something like your Eventbrite, or if you're using another third-party registration portal. So I'm going to be sharing my screen, and I'm going to share a couple examples of some of the things that some of our planners, some of the folks inside the Remo Revolution community have used, and some of the things that I have used, and some of the things that we have available here in Remo. So we have a super host. Her name is Kimberly, and she is with Connect Event Hub. So I'm going to show you a couple examples of her documents that she messages out. I need to go here, and I'm going to share this tab. So this is an example of her one-pager, how she lays out her one-pager with the attendee information what you need to know before you go. So she breaks it down into connections and devices. You're going to need a connection that's strong and fast, and she spells that out. A laptop or desktop is preferred. CEH has some mobile compatibility, but for full access to the platform features may be limited depending on your device. And again, with Remo, if somebody is coming in on a mobile device, I cannot pull them up here onto the stage to be able to present. If they're coming on a mobile device, they can't open up the whiteboard. So if they are, for example, in one of my job fairs, the whiteboards are extremely important to the job fairs. So they're not going to be able to open and have that resource if they're coming in on a mobile. Next, webcam and microphone, login and profiles. And this is just a real quick step through of what the attendee needs to know to get them up to that point. Again, when you are looking at your demographics and your purpose, this is also what's going to make your decisions a little bit easier about what information you're going to want to include in these one-pagers. For me, I don't necessarily include every single button and every single thing that a guest is going to see when they come into my event, because they may not need it. And the more information that I try to overload them with, I find the more confused they become. So I'm very selectful and purposeful on what I'm going to place in the information sheets. I'm going to show you a couple more of the documents. So this is an email sample that Kimberly has developed. And this email sample is something that she gives her clients that they can cut and paste and customize. So they'll embed the link to the landing page for the event. If you're asked for a password, it means at some point you may have already attended an event in the Remo platform. So again, this is stuff that comes with familiarity with the platform that you're using. So for Remo, if you put in an email address and it prompts you for a password, that means you've been in there before and created something. If it says you need to create your new profile, then that means you haven't been in, it's your first time. And so there's a few different things that you have to relay. And she talks about how to upload the profile. Once the event starts, use the same link and login as above to join the event. And we've attached a know before you go document. So this is partnered. This is the email portion of the one pager that I just showed you in the last screen share. So again, this is, you can test your internet connection, browser, and devices ahead of time here, and she has the link to the gear test. You can view a brief video on using the platform here, and she has this linked to a YouTube video. I am going to open one example of a one-pager, and again, these one-pagers can look however you decide best when it comes to knowing what information your guests need. So this is a one-pager that I created very, very quickly for our Power of Gathering Summit that we had back in January. So what I did was I took screen captures. Sorry, what I did was I took screen captures from every portion that my guest was going to see on their journey from the landing page until they came into my event. So I paired it with number one step is login, and this is what the login is going to look like. Number two, learn. Click through the brief tutorial on the basics and start to set your profile. So I made it so that please don't skip this. This is something that's very important to start with. 3, the gear test. So when they get to this, especially if they're not tech savvy, they may not know what the gear test is, but I'm also making sure to let them know Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Edge on a desktop or laptop, again, as that reminder. I personally had a welcome message. If you don't have a welcome message, this would be something that you would omit on your messaging. And then the next thing we wanted them to do was, if they didn't complete the profile here, they can go here and complete it. How to navigate, so holding your mouse in an area to drag the floor plan so you can see everything, zooming in and zooming out. how to move tables, and then how to talk. And those were the very basics that our guests coming into this summit needed to be able to function for those first 5 to 10 minutes before we started and came up into presentation mode. And then we're able to explain everything in like a housekeeping strategy session. Yeah, someone's asking if I'm going to please share these example documents at the end of the session. Yes, I can do that. I'm going to share some of these documents, and a lot of these documents you can also find as well inside the Remo Revolution community. So if for some reason you can't find it again, we do have a lot of topic discussions, and a lot of folks are sharing what they have created inside the Remo Revolution community. If you are not part of the Remo Revolution community, that is perfectly fine. You can join at any time. It's free to join. If you are a paid member of Remo, there are some extra bonuses and some private spaces that people who are paid members are able to access, and that opens up a couple of different classes that we offer. But so the Remo Revolution community, we have had some spam bots coming in there. So we've had to create a 3-question answer authentication. So I apologize for that, but we do want to keep the space as spam free as possible. But once you're in there, we have a lot of resources already. So the second thing that you can use is a video. And a lot of times a video will get to the point a lot faster, clearly easier than a one-pager or an email. So I'm going to show you a couple examples of some videos that some of the other hosts have created. And I will say that we are currently here at Remo, Tasneem and myself. So Tasneem, if you don't know, she is my my left hip because she's on the left side of the world, and I'm the right hip because I'm the right side, or flip it. But she is over in Hong Kong. And so she and I work very, very closely. She writes all the help articles. We work very closely together, but we are going to update a lot of our tutorial videos and a lot of these walkthrough videos. So that way we'll be able to make sure that things are accessible to you if you want to have a base template. But we've just done a complete rebrand. So everything that we have currently, we are revising into a modern look to include the features that we currently have. But right now I'm going to share an example of a video that one of our super hosts, his name is Jared, and he has all of these videos available. So I'll give you guys the links to that. So this is one of the videos that Jared has available. Thank you, Amy. I'm not sure how long that goes on for, but I just wanted to jump in so that we can see some more examples and things like that, and get through the class a little bit faster. But is everything okay now? I just saw Andy's come in. Can I get that? Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So that is an example of like a more produced, higher tech. Jared has somebody on staff and that he works closely with that does video production. And so that is a higher level type of walkthrough. And it may include things that your guests don't need to know. For example, if you don't need to use the whiteboards in your event, you don't necessarily need to teach your attendees about the whiteboards because that just might be one extra layer of confusion that they have. But again, it's up to you. There is another way that you can do a little bit more of a lower tech version. And I'm going to show you a little bit of snippet of this. This is from Lunch Pool. So Alex Abel with Lunch Pool. This is just a screen recording. And this is something that you guys can do very, very easily. So I'm going to share this, and I'm just going to play it for a couple minutes, and you can see the difference between something that's a little bit more produced and something that is a walkthrough.
If you want to go to a different floor, you can click the number on which floor you.
Okay, so that's just an example of a screen recording. And this, no matter what expertise you may or may not have on your team, because there's plenty of times where I've seen a lot of hosts who have come in and they have to put on events because their boss said, or they're on a nonprofit that has limited resources. But there is a free screen recorder that is extremely easy to use, and it's free, that you can record up to 5 minutes. It's called Loom. So it's Loom. And this is a app that you download. I'm going to try to share my screen to see if you guys can see the toggle bar. I think I have to share my whole application. I think if I share my entire screen, I can do this. Okay, so you guys can see here, this is my Loom toolbar. So what I can do is I can record my screen only. I can record a screen in camera. So my camera is being used here. I think it might get a little bit cranky down there. So you have a picture-in-picture that you can use, and you can drag it around. So if you want to see a name and a face, I can use my camera, but again, it might get a little bit cranky because I'm trying to be in 2 places at once. So I just start my recording, and it will count me down with a 3, 2, 1. Everything goes dark for me, and then everything comes back for me. And this is how I can pause if I need to demonstrate something and then stop recording, and it just takes me to my Loom home account, and I can share that way. Now, the reason why I suggest doing some of these things in-house on something like Loom is you can send a stock video that somebody else has created to get through the basics. But what I've found, and thanks, Madison. I know, and Madison, you can maybe like give me a thumbs up. Andy, you guys can give me a thumbs up if you've seen this as well, because I know that you guys have hosted a lot of events. When you share information with a guest and the floor plan looks completely different than what they have been watching in the tutorial, sometimes that can lead to confusion. If the user experience that you would like your guests to have as they're walking through is different than what they've seen in the tutorial, again, they might get some confusion. So for example, on a couple of those videos, the elevator is extremely important to my event because I need people to get up and down the floors. But none of the videos that I showed how to use the elevator and to move floors. But it showed the whiteboard, and the whiteboard really is not completely relevant to my event. So that's where being able to use Loom, being able to screen capture and create some of these things in-house for you, again, going back to point 1 that I made, based on who the guests are and what you want them to get out of this event, that's where it all comes to. Is Loom better, easier than recording a PowerPoint or in Zoom? I find it's easy to share in Loom. I'm not sure. Andy, I know you may have some expertise and some feelings on what might be better to record in. I just love Loom because I can just jump around and do a lot, and it looks a little bit more professional than Andy says he loves Camtasia for video recording. Andy, is Camtasia, that's a paid for service though, right? It's a little bit more expensive. Where are you at, Andy? I'm going to, if you want to come on up, Andy. I believe Camtasia is more expensive because Loom, you can pay for it, or you can have like a free, quick, easy option. Hey, Andy.
Yeah. Hi, yeah. Yeah, Camtasia is paid, but I would say it's pretty affordable. It's about 160 US, I think, maybe a bit less. I avoided it for ages. I used all the other ones, and bear in mind I sell other software. It's probably the one tool that I'd say universally everyone should use, because it's just brilliant for pulling together video, and you can get all the effects and transitions, and it's all very easy, even for an idiot like me who isn't a video producer. So yeah, Camtasia would be the one that I'd just go, it's worth an investment. But do you know what? There's loads of editors and they all work in a fairly similar way once you get your head around them. Loom is absolutely at that easy end. You know, it's not going to confuse you with loads of editing stuff. It's like, record your video. Okay, you might have to do it a couple of times because you might want to get it really sharp. But yeah, you can just do it straight away, can't you? No hassle.
So Loom is kind of like on the more low-tech, easy, just point and shoot kind of side. And if you want to be able to then elevate, then you can look at things like Camtasia. You can look at things like OBS. You can look at some of the more higher production quality. Madison says that we use a new video for every large event so the organizers can welcome attendees and make the event feel personable, and at the same time walk them through around the floor, show them where the help desk is if needed, call support phone numbers to call. And that's exactly it, Madison. That goes to the next point I was going to make, is whenever you do these videos on your own, using your own floor plan, you can also allow a familiar voice or a familiar face to be represented on that video. So again, it puts your guests at ease. So if it's somebody that they're going to be seeing throughout your event, if it is the organizers who they may or may not know, but they at least like maybe see their photographs, these are good ways that you can, even before your event starts, get your folks comfortable with that.
And I think you're absolutely right. Earlier you were mentioning this, the making that totally bespoke to the event. So you know, you've got to lower the cognitive load on attendees, haven't you? So like you said, if you're not using whiteboards, the video shouldn't show whiteboards. If you're not using that floor plan, the video should show the right floor plan. All of these things are just going to make that simpler for someone to get in, it be familiar, and then just get going straight away with whatever you're trying to do.
Thanks, Andy. And so the next thing that I'm going to show you guys is where you can pull everything together. So another way, a method that you can use to relay information to your guests in advance is through a website. So if you have a master landing website, so I'm going to show you one that one of our super hosts has created. And this is something that eventually we at Tasneem and I are looking at modeling our offerings to you guys all in one place, because right now we have some videos. Right now we have online learning. Right now we have a help, a very robust help article section. But if you're not exactly sure where to go or where to look, we're going to try to pull it all together. And this is something that you can do for your guests as well. So this is one of our super hosts. His name is Spuds. He's over in the APAC region. And so what he does is he records his video. Because I'm sharing my screen, I don't think you're going to be able to hear it.
My name is Spud, and I am one of the lead experience designers.
So he is just talking you
through
what you need to do. He's not even showing necessarily the design until you get into a little bit further. And this is where, using something like Loom, you can walk somebody with your own video, your own face, through what they need to do. In addition, people have different styles of learning that they like. Some like the video, some like to have a walkthrough with the video, and others just like to have a help article where they figure it out. So he has his website broken down into sections. So here's 2 parts of Remo, the floor and the stage, where he walks through, he gives some text. And then what we're hoping to do as we develop this inside Remo is that we will also put links to the help articles. So if you like this idea, you can create your landing page where you have section 1, accompanied video, and then any of the PDFs, any of the one-pagers, any of the explanation guides that you would like, you can have. And then he moves on. He has a second section where it talks about special Remo privileges. So this is where he talks for the speakers. The third is hosting table discussions. So you can have your page, again, broken down specifically with the information that your guests are going to need to facilitate through your event easier. Oh, did that just not share? Did that not share the walkthrough? Okay, I'm so sorry about that. Let me try this again. Let me go through the code. So everything that I just talked about, here we go. Is this up now? I'm going to pop back to you guys. Yep. Okay. I'm so sorry for that. For some reason it got stuck. So this is what I was just talking about. Everything I just talked about, this is what it is. So here is the text section. Accompanied right next to it is a video. So it starts out with him doing the welcome.
I am one of the lead
And then again in Loom, you could hit the pause because he's using Loom. I see it. I see the Loom right there.
Events coming up is.
And so he has the event itself running in the background and he is full screen. And then he's going to shift himself down so that he is still talking and walking you through what you can do as he goes through the event. And then he also has it broken down into the special privileges. He has it broken down into table discussions. He has it broken down into preparing the speaker. So he has each topic that is relevant to the events that he is going to throw broken down into bite-sized chunks. And then what Tasneem and I are talking about doing is modeling this sort of experience in the Remo Academy area in near where some of like our help articles are, and then have our help articles link here underneath it. So if people need to have that sort of experience where they want to read a help article in addition, it's all in one and it's broken down by relevant topic. So that's, again, apologize for that not showing up. So those are three of the different techniques that you can use to be able to go ahead and do education for your guests in a variety of different ways based on their learning preferences and their learning styles. And you can go very high tech, you can go very low tech. So I'm going to share a couple of the documents now that I had up here earlier. I'm going to share this Pogo. And I'm going to tell you again about another really strong time-saving program. It is called Canva. So if you don't have a graphic designer on staff, if you don't have a lot of experience yourself when it comes to Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop, there is a program called Canva. And what it does is it is a free online program that you just have to register for, and they have tons of templates and everything is drop and drag. So you can start with a template or you can create from scratch, but you just drop and drag elements. You don't have to create everything from scratch. You can upload your own photographs. And the great thing about it as well is whenever you download, if you have a pro account, it's free. If you have a free account and you're using a photograph that you got from there, they may charge you $1 for it if it's not one of the free ones, but it's licensed. So you don't have to pay $150 to Shutterstock for a stock image. It comes as part of Canva. And so that's one of the areas. So if you want to download this PNG, you actually need to right click on it and then do a save as to download it because I believe that it will open up into another, it should open up into another tab for you, but it may not automatically download. So if it's not automatically download, just do a right click and a save as. And these are, again, are the attendee sheets that I showed you earlier. Oops. Let me try this again. So this is the attendee sheet. That PDF will download automatically. This is an example of her event email link that they use. And then I already put in the guides that we have, the Remo guides for hosts, guests, speakers, and sponsors. Those are very large guides. And if you have a PDF editor, you can take the elements out of them that you need and place them into your own one-pagers. This is the link to the onboard landing page that I just showed you from Spuds. So this is inside the community. This is one of our super hosts who shared these things with us. And then there's another thing that I want to show you. It's another link. It is when I talk about making things specific to your case use, this is a great example of making something specific to your case use. So we have a super host. Her name is Anne Marie, and she shared this on the same thread that Spuds had shared his My Creative Community. And what I love about this is that it is very specific to her case use. Her case use is for a poster session. Those of you guys in the UK, you know what a poster session is. Here in the US, if you're not familiar with what a poster session is, it's kind of like, you know, if you think back to like a school science fair where the kids have like their tables and they have their experiment, but they have the posters that explain everything. So this is for her specific poster session, and this is how to participate in the poster session itself. So when they go through, she has posters externally, but also when it comes to being on Remo, she has made a screenshot of the floor. She has I'm assuming in PowerPoint, or you can do this in Canva. She has identified what each section is that she needs the guests to look at. Here again is the tester system, important you can't access from a tablet or iPad. Here are the instructions about how she wants them to walk through her poster session. Here's how you can move between floors. These are the best practices, the tips. Use a computer, turn off unneeded apps, look up the program numbers. Here's how I want you to walk through this as a guest. Troubleshooting. Here are links to troubleshooting so that you can self-solve if you need to. Again, here is the Remo floor plan. Back to top. And then what's really good is that she has a code of conduct written. So this way, if you need to have a code of conduct for your guests, if there are certain things that you need to relay to them that aren't acceptable, that this behavior may get you kicked out of the event, then she has that in there as well. So this is a good example of somebody making a product specific to their event. And here is the link for the Genetics GSA org poster event. So those are some of the different things that you can do. But overall, if you think of these, and if you want to write this down, the questions that you need to answer with your pre-event prep, no matter which way you use, if you use a video, if you use a one-pager, if you use a website, if you use emails, if you use a combination of them all. One, what do your guests need to do to get in? What do they need to know before they come in to be able to get into your session? Number two, what do you need to do for your guests to know what they need to do immediately when they're in your session? Number three, what do they do if they can't get into your session, or if something goes wrong when they're inside your session? So if you cover those three topics, that is a good metric to gauge if your folks are going to be able to follow through. Madison, if documents don't do much for your attendees, you have another tip. Most of my attendees won't read anything. Exactly. And I'm going to get into some of those as well, about tips that you can do if people don't read anything. But Madison, if you want to come up here and start the conversation, I'm about to transition into those like last minute things that you can do if people absolutely don't read anything. So if you want to come up, we can. Hi, Madison.
Hi. mean to like if you have your tips, like go for it. I just didn't want the session to end, and there's some things that I've learned through the hard way. Where I just like anyone who's on here, I wouldn't want them to like leave without that information.
So stay up here with me, and if I'm covering something that you're going to hit, and then I'd love for you to jump in if there's something that I missed. So number one of the things that I do, the Remo Speakers Guide didn't link. Okay, I'll check that out, Andy. One of the things that I do is I leverage the welcome message. So the welcome message is found in your back end under the onboarding, and I can put my video in there on autoplay. So as soon as they land into my event, that welcome message pops up and it auto plays for them. And they're just like, oh, okay. And if they didn't watch it earlier, if they didn't look at it on the website, if they didn't look at it in their email, if they didn't look at it earlier, it's at least right there. Or I can upload a new video that they're already in. It starts from here's where we go. So like Madison was talking earlier, it has that welcome from the hosts, and it says, here's how you navigate through. If you have any questions, please go to the help desk that's right here. The second that we've used is if you use the lobby. You can't put a video in the lobby, but you can put a link in the lobby that they can, and you specifically say, while you're waiting, please cut and paste this into a new tab and watch the video. And that way they are able to do that while they're in the lobby. And a third thing that a lot of our hosts have started to do now is they start in presentation mode. So instead of starting in conversation mode, a minute before the event opens, they're starting in presentation mode. And so like if Madison and I are hosting together, as participants are coming in, we can sit here and welcome like, oh, hey, Amy, hey, Brian, welcome to the event. We're going to get started here in a couple minutes. Hi, Brian. And again, going back to the work that you did at the very beginning where you asked in your mind, what are the demographics? What are they used to? This looks a little Zoomy. This looks a little familiar to them from Zoom. And from here, you can then go through and then you're able to show them from this standpoint what they need to do. You may need to clone your event because you can't demonstrate conversation mode. So I'm going to show right now what I'm talking about. So if I am in here, I am going to go into my shared screen. This is part of my continuing. So if I have my help desk, I'll show where my help desk is. But for here, another way that you can continue to educate your guests through the event, or for me, my problem is that I do job fairs and my event opens at 9 a.m., but my folks may not come in until 10:30 and they may have found out about 10 minutes before. So they'll watch the welcome video, but I have a banner that says click for important information. And I say, watch the slideshow for more information. So the slideshow goes, and I change the colors a bit so they realize that something's changed. And this will help with that. The other thing that I do is to continue to educate. So if I have multiple halls, I'm going to say, click for hall education. What step do I want my guests to take? I want them to click. And then I have a copy of that floor plan, or I have a copy of that agenda, or I have a copy of the resource list of whatever hall it is that they want to go to, so they understand where they're going. So you can continue to educate your guests through the event as they come in. Another thing that I did is I demonstrated it with you guys when you first came into this event, is I started sending announcements. Here's how you do this. Here's how you do this. And I kept going with that. So at this point, Madison, do you have a couple of other practices that you found are working?
Yeah, the practice that I felt worked the best, and this was the event that we had absolutely no issues. There were 280-year-old men for a college reunion that we put on an event for. So we tried really hard to make it super organized. So I would call it organized onboarding. So making it as close to a real life event as possible. So if you have staff or you have people that can help you, I recommend like using like what you said, Kat, of having the waiting room, but letting in 5 or 10 people at a time, speaking to those 5 to 10 people, like showing them demos. When they're ready to go, they can start mingling. You let the next 5 or 10 in, and then you keep doing that. And then you don't have to worry about if they've read any of the documents, if they've watched your video. We have the video on as well, but sometimes people will just, even if it auto plays, they'll skip it because they'll be like, I don't know what this is. So if you have people that just pop up and they speak to you face to face, I feel like that's been like the most seamless in all of the events that we've done.
Yeah. Thank you, Madison. And that is a brilliant idea. And this is, again, this is why I love the community. Why I love these master classes. And this is why we pull everyone up, because we benefit from learning from each other. And that's the purpose behind Success Labs. That's the purpose behind master classes. That's the purpose behind the community. That's the purpose behind the, did I say Success Labs Quick Start? It's so that we can all learn from each other. And learn from each other's successes, or ask questions about, okay, how did you do that? And again, which direction do you want to take? It all 100% matters based on those 2 prep questions that you asked. What is my demographic? What do I want the end result to be? And from there, you can strategize backwards to figure out how you can get to that end result. So to recap, ask yourself those 2 questions. Next is, what are the products that you want to use? Do you want to use one-pagers? Do you want to use videos? Do you want to use websites? Do you want to use a combination of everything? Next, is everybody going to gather at the opening and you'll have them all captive? Or is it more of like a revolving door as people come and go? Can you leverage that welcome? Can you leverage the lobby? Can you leverage starting in presentation mode? Can you leverage some of these other ideas? If your event is super, super simple, that's great. But again, remember that each layer of things that you need to put into your event means that's one more layer of something that you guys need to teach your guests how to use. But you don't have to do it all up front. You can break it up as up front. How do I basically get in? Once I'm in, what do we have to do? And I think you guys have heard a few different ways about how you can do that. We still have another half hour, but I know a lot of people jump off at the top of the hour. So I have a favor to ask everybody. We have prepared a slide, a poll, because Tasneem and I would like to know what materials or items you would like to have in an onboarding kit. So if you have a phone, or if you don't have a phone, you can do this through your another open tab on the browser. But we want to do a poll really quickly. And this is through Slido that we're doing. So you can either, if you have a phone, you can take a capture of that QR code, or you can join us at slido.com, slido.com, and just put in the number 21985. So 21985. So if you guys, I'll give you guys a couple minutes to be able to do that. Once you're in, if you guys can give me a thumbs up or something inside the chat bar, then I'll go ahead and start the Slido presentation, because again, it's really, really important to get your feedback, to know what you need, what you'd like to see, because we have so many different resources that we can give you. We just, 1, don't want to over inundate you, and 2, we don't want to give you things that are not relevant. Understanding that everybody's case use is going to be different, but we want to come up with a package that's going to work for a few people. So if you guys can, like I said, give me a thumbs up inside once you guys are in to the Slido. You don't have to create a Slido account either. Just use the QR code on your phone, or you can just type in slido.com 21985. I'm going to give it just like another minute to get a couple more people in here. And again, the more people that we have feedback from, the better the products that we're going to be able to put out will be. So I'm going to go ahead and start. I believe I just have to do, oh, let me go back. So I hit play. So what materials or items would you like to include in this proposed onboarding kit? And you guys are able to go ahead and, I believe, just type that in. Oops, show polls. So you guys should be able to type that in for us. Good. Quick start user guide, one pager, stick figure, floor plan. So whenever you talk about one pager and video samples, that is very, very broad. Is it a one pager that just gets you into the event? Is it a video that just gets you into the event and then you guys will take over from there? Is it a video that can be up to 5 minutes that shows and features everything? Or do you want something that is just a little bit more getting you in, showing the basics, and then we as the hosts can take it over from there? Because again, what we're finding is that so many different hosts have so many different use cases. And when we try to do something broad and general, it's not really one size fits all. So we want to try to make sure that things are really, really helpful and useful for you guys. So video samples of how to enter the event. We can give further instructions live then. Video samples, a quick start user guide. And again, when you say quick start user guide, is there something a little bit more specific? Customizable short event welcome video to load to the left billboard. So the customizable short event welcome video, that's going to be a challenge, because if we're creating the video and putting it on our YouTube page, you guys would have to be able to download it and edit it. So that's where we're recommending, if there's things that you guys need to make on your end, you would probably want to use a Loom or something. Video samples of how to enter the event. So things that you can maybe like pull out and put into a video that you create. We can do some things like that. Videos 3 minutes or less, a slick and fun overview. And again, so what we're looking for in these next is a little bit more specific as to the content. So number 2, what material or items would you like included in this proposed onboarding kit? So you've talked about some one-pagers, some videos. What are some other things that we can include? Just coming off the top of your head, what are things that like art or graphics or things that you could use to put into your own things? How and why Remo is different from every other platform. Okay, that one's going to be a little bit challenging because I know that we do have information about that on our website about how we're different specifically from Zoom, how we're different from some of the other individuals that are the other platforms. But in the onboarding kit, we really want to focus on what education you need to relay to your guests. So we're gonna leave this open for a couple more seconds. Kiki, are there editable floor plan templates available for people who have basic design skills but don't want to completely start from scratch? Yes, there are. There is a Google Doc that is accessible from inside our custom floor plan help article. I'll pull that up for you right now while everybody is still working on the Slido. I'll give a couple more seconds while I do this. Going into the support help doc, custom floor plans, how to create a custom floor plan. There we go. So inside this, there is going to be a link. So I'm going to put this in here for you, Kiki. So this is the link to the help article, and this is going to be the link. Ooh, wrong. Where am I? This is going to be the link to the downloadable SVG files from the Google Drive. So this is the Google Drive where you can find a bunch of the floor plans and you just download them as an SVG. Okay. So, and then next, I'm going to find my Slido. Here we go. Okay, slower video for non-native speakers, basic, lots of icons and arrows. Maybe that would be better as a text-based video instead of something that is solely voiceover. Next, I'm gonna go one more. What types of materials would you like? Written text, videos, downloadable PDFs. So if we're going to focus energy right away, where do we want to focus the energy? In a downloadable PDF, in a video or in something in a written text, kind of like what you saw on that website where it's somewhere you can direct them to. So I'm going to let this go here for a second and jump back into chat or into Q&A. So sharing the example documents. Yep, I'm pretty sure I shared all of the documents. Oh, one thing that I want to talk about is that we have a masterclass that George gave a couple months ago, and it is inside the Remo Revolution community. It is called Copy That Converts, and you can watch the video or you can read the transcripts, and George goes through email sequences that you can send to your guests once they have registered to help them show up. So it's a show up sequence. And in this show up sequence, you can drop in like one tip. So here is the information that I'm putting in that. And oh yeah, by the way, here is a tip for the event. So you can combine that. So oh shoot, that is in the wrong, I'm in Q&A right now. So I'm going to put the link to the Copy That Converts masterclass that George gave. That is now inside the general chat as well. So that is a companion piece for something that you can use. I gave you the poster sessions. Oh, I also want to show you, this is something that was designed in Canva. So as soon as we come off of this poll, I'll give it just one more minute. And I thank you very, very much for that. I'm going to give it just one more minute, and then I'm going to, I believe, oh, sorry. How would you like the kit presented? In a Google Drive, on a website, or in a PDF document? Sorry, she had one more for me. Would you like us to put this information into a Google Drive that you can share? Would you like it to be placed on a website that you can link to or pull from? Would you like it to be in a PDF document that you can download? So this way we know where it's going to be best to house this information, and then we'll redirect it to there. So right now it looks like a Google Drive is what is good for you guys. So that way we can prioritize just getting the materials made, putting them in a Google Drive, and then sharing that just like we did, just like I did right now with the SVG files. So that is, okay, yep, and this is the last question. So I'm going to let this go. If you guys can do last minute voting on this one. I'm gonna shut it off in just one more minute, or actually you guys can keep going, but I am going to stop my share screen and I'm going to share another example of an onboarding presentation that one of our hosts has made. So this is for the New York Theological Seminary, the Urban Angels Gala. And so here is an example of a presentation of a slideshow that was created in Canva. So up here is the Canva link. And that's the link to this. So with their presentation, they just step through a slideshow and it's animated. And again, they have the screenshots that they have captured as they walk through the event and the browser compatibility. So that is one of the first things that they want to make sure people know is what you're needing to come in on. Next is the step through of how they've organized it. The experience, how to get in, what to do when you're there, how to talk, what you'll see. And again, so they have done a screenshot, and then inside Canva, they build this slide, they take a screenshot that they've uploaded, and then you can just write the text directly on. It's like all of these elements is just drop and drag inside of Canva. You don't have to create anything from scratch. So if you know how to make a PowerPoint presentation with like the drop and drag and insert, you can do that in Canva. It's very, very simple. How you move around the room. This is the elevator. This is where the tables are. And they've taken screenshots of some of the videos as well. I can tell that. And then this is the bar. And just remember, the one thing that I find with hosts is that they don't always remember is that the guest toolbar looks different than the host toolbar. So you're always going to want to screenshot the guest toolbar, which is going to have the quit event button. And then for more help, view this video on how to attend a Remo event. So they have done an actual PowerPoint presentation, which was created in Canva. And so that was something that they were able to share. So that is another idea. And I just put that link in there. So those are the big points of topic that I had to cover. We still have about 20 minutes if people want to hang around, if they have questions. If anybody has questions, you want to come up and ask it, please go ahead and raise your hand. If you have a question in the Q&A, I will jump over there and answer some of those questions. So for the first question is, will you share the example documents with us at the end of the session? Yes. And if there's something that I've missed, please let me know. So I have the guides. Andy, I'll double check to make sure that one is up. Tasneem, I think she's probably in bed right now. Hopefully she's probably in bed right now. And she is the one that has uploaded those. So I'll double check and let her know that one of them is not working. I gave you Copy That Converts. I gave you Anne-Marie's poster session, landing page example, Jared's videos. So if you use that YouTube live for ESACs, that YouTube, the YouTube link, it will show you other videos that Jared has as well. And then that is a different event that was hosted. So that's not one I need to give you. And then, so those are the ones that we had. Next, can people in the lobby be rejected and can guests be removed from the event? Folks in the lobby can just not be let in. If you have the option as a host to select whom you want to let in, and that's what Madison was talking about, is that on the host side, you are going to see a list of everybody who's in the lobby, and you select who you can let in, or you have the option to let everybody in. So instead of necessarily being rejected, you just don't let them in. And can guests be removed from the event? Absolutely, they can. There's two ways that you can do this. If you're in conversation mode, you can hover over their avatar and you can right click. If you right click over their avatar, a pop-up a drop-down will display, and one of them is remove guest. And the other way that you can do it is that you can go into your event settings. Let me go into my event settings, and you can go into your invitations and go into your guest settings. So if there's somebody in here that you want to remove, there is a delete button here, a block button that will remove them from the event and not let them come back in. I'm sorry, I'm trying to protect this, that email address, but there is that circle. So you'll go in there and that will remove them from the event. And again, people ask, why do we need to have email addresses? Why can't people just come into the events? Everything with Remo is tied to an email address. Your speaker permissions, your ability to be identified as an attendee, your ability to come in on a private event. These are all things that are identified via email. And you as a host are able to remove them from your event and block them from coming back to your event with that email. Does that mean that they maybe can't create another fake email and come in? Yes, it's not foolproof, but that is why that's why it's important to be able to have that email attachment. How did you create a bridge from the main building to a parallel building? I'll answer that in a second, because this next question is more related to this topic. Can you or Madison explain again how to welcome 5 to 10 people at a time? Do they drop into a single table, or what's the experience like when they first enter? Madison, I don't know if you're still here, if you want to come back up, but generally what I would do is I let them in at a time, and I have a table captain at a table waiting for them. So one of my folks is at a table, and they use the get feature to pull those people in if they're at that table, or if they come in 5 at a time, 10 at a time, and I'm here in presentation mode, I can talk to them, make sure that they're okay. Or we're all at a table, explain that, and then off they go. I'm not exactly sure if Madison is still here, how she did it. I don't see Madison here anymore, so I think Madison left. So in the in the lobby feature, again, it will list on your side. Let me turn on the lobby in my other event that I have going on right now so that you guys can see it. So I'm going to turn on the lobby feature, and then I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so this is what it looks like when you have the lobby on and you're the host. So if I click on my lobby, when folks come in, their names are going to line up here with a button that says admit one at a time, and it'll tell me how many are waiting to enter. There will also be a message at the very top. So at the very top here where it says guest prep event, there will be an overlay that will say somebody is waiting to enter with their name. I can either admit one, or this button will be blue and I can press it to admit all. So if I just want to admit the first 5, they will land at different tables. I can use the get feature. So if I hover over their avatar and I right click, there is a drop down that comes down. I just hovered over my own, so it is a different drop down. If I had a second person in here, then it would say a different drop down, and that's where it says get. That's where it says remove from event. And I can show you guys when we go down into conversation mode. If you want me to demonstrate that, I'll close presentation early and demonstrate that. If you hover the avatar and left click, you get the business card. If you hover the avatar and right click, this again, I'm seeing this because I'm clicking on myself and I'm the host. When we're in conversation mode, I will show you what this looks like because it does not look the same here. So that would be how folks can come in. So I have an amount of people at my table. I can have them all come in at once. Once they're seated here, I have another person who is at my second table. They can let in the next 6 or 7, talk to them. If I have a third event host, they're at this table, they can let in the next 6 or 7. So that way, and then we do the get feature to pull them all into the table and discuss with them what's going on, release them, and then you can start all over until everybody is through your guest lobby. While I'm in here, I will show you how you can build a bridge. So here that clicked into Education Hall. Once I go into prepare, I will go into my sponsors tab. Under my sponsors tab, I do not have a link here at all because it will display once I have it. I will use my call to action link. And so for example, if I want them to click to another event, this is the only URL that I have up here right now. I place this into my call to action link. And if they click on this as it is, your guests will have to go through the registration process again. When you build the bridge inside a banner, if you put put the slash question mark auto join equals 1, and you save this question mark auto join equals 1, that will tell the system, number 1, to overwrite and open this new link in the tab that you're in, because Remo does not like it if you are in 2 places at the same time. So it'll save that. And number 2, it tells it to bypass the registration portal because they've already registered, and it will jump them straight into that other event. So that's how you build the bridge to a second event. And this is the key code for how you do that. Question mark auto join equals 1. Can all attendees adjust their statuses by right clicking? No, that is only for a host. And again, that is only something that you guys can see because I have a host. As a host, you guys should be able to do that as well. We can double check to see what the attendees get, but that, again, that's a feature that is only for hosts. All right, does anybody have any other questions? Let me stop sharing my screen. Does anybody have any questions about onboarding guests, about preparing guests? Another thing to do is, we can touch on it right now, is preparing speakers. When you prepare speakers, you always want to have a preparation session with them about 5 days out. I don't like to do it a lot sooner than 5 days out, because if they have a VPN or a firewall, it gives them time to troubleshoot that with their IT department or come up with an alternate plan so that they can get in without an event. And I walk them through specifically everything that they need to do. Sometimes I will create a clone of my event if I need to keep all of my data clear. That can cause confusion for my speakers because that's 2 URLs for them to have to track. So there are some pros and cons with that, but if you are onboarding speakers, again, you're going to send them kind of the same information. When you send them that information, then really highlight again, because speakers don't listen. I had an event host come to me and say, we couldn't get our keynote speaker on stage because she's a judge and she's super busy. And we told her 4 times, you can't come in on an iPhone. And she came in an iPhone. There was nothing that we could do. So at that point, like maybe hopefully you have YouTube Live and you can route through that way. So always having a backup plan is really a really good idea when it comes to those sorts of things. But that will be a masterclass for a future time. So I'm going to do one last call for any questions, and then we will go down into conversation mode. Thank you, Melissa. I really appreciate that you found it helpful. We'll go to the conversation mode, and I will show you, for those of you guys who are interested, I will show you how to do a remove guest, and I will show you how to do a get guest, and what you can see whenever you right click on somebody's avatar. I don't have a second person in my other cloned event, so I can't show you how to do it right now. So thank you everybody for coming. This is recorded, so if you do need to reference it, it will be in the Remo Revolution community under the master classes. It may take a week or so because we do transcribe it, and it does take us a little bit of time to download everything, to put it into the transcription AI, and then have a human go through it to do an edit. So it does take about a week or so. So please give us a little bit of that. For next month, we have a masterclass that is going to be on a case use for networking with professional associations. We are going to, the second masterclass is TBD right now, just because the initial idea, what we have it tied to has been postponed. So I'll have a second masterclass. That information will be out. Look in your emails or look in the community. And then our big blowout event next month is going to be our 1-year celebration of the Remo Revolution community. So we are going to have a huge bash on the 30th of June because our community has turned 1 year, and we want to celebrate it. And we're going to have a lot of really awesome raffle prizes. We're going to have awesome entertainment, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So otherwise, if you are a paid, you can join us on Mondays and Wednesdays for Success Labs, where we have a topic-based discussion about everything, either Remo or virtual events. And then on Tuesdays at 9 a.m., all these are at 9 a.m. Tuesdays at 9 a.m. are quick start workshops. So if you are newer to Remo, or you have questions on your specific case use, or if you want to have a feature demonstrated, or if you want to learn how to do something, that's what quick start workshop is. It is an Ask Me Anything format. And again, next week, I believe our events hosting side of things with marketing, they are having a very large Pride event. So please keep an eye out for that and join. The week after that will be the masterclass on professional association networking. The week after that, the masterclass is TBD. And then we have our big, gigantic bash. So if you need to get a hold of me, the fastest way to do that is through the Remo Revolution community private message, or put a message into the community and tag me. Those are the fastest ways to get a hold of me. So for those of you that want to continue on, please join my table. Or if you need me, pull me to your table, and I will be happy to talk. I've extended the event minutes. I do have another meeting that follows on after this, and I again appreciate each and every one of you for coming and for taking part in this presentation. All right, thanks guys.